Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What happens when you have a TV show titled Unscripted and you have no topic and you have a person from the media industry, me, and you have a world-class publicist? What will the topic be? Who knows? We're going to find out. We are very excited to welcome Mikkelson from Creative Edge. Mickey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Jacalyn. I know that Doug Lawrence was supposed to be here today. There was a situation in place, so I, as his publicist, decided I would come on and save the day. So I hope thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You know what I love about this? First of all, we love Doug. A big round of applause to Doug.
Absolutely.
And we love you. You have sent us so many people over the years. I really appreciate you. And the people you work with are top notch. But for today, we found a solution. And that is what I think is so important about life. We're always planning everything out and everything doesn't always go our way. But before we get into the topic, which is no topic, I want to have you introduce yourself because as I mentioned, you are working with some of the top people in the world, providing them opportunities to get visibility. So tell us about you and Creative Edge.
So I've been in the publicity business since 2015. I started with one author out of Winnipeg. Her name is Miranda O. And within that, we were able to build our business. We represent over 100 authors worldwide, New York Times bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers. I'm the sole publicist for 6 small press publishers. And we get interviews traditionally. We work with Abundantly Social out of Texas for social media and book marketing. And everything for us, our goal and our model is relationships, traction, and just collaborations like we have with USA Global TV. So very excited to be here and looking forward to this.
Thank you, Mickey. I want to get into something that for some people is a 4-letter word. It's the word I mentioned, visibility. In fact, I was just having a conversation with our dear colleague and friend, Red O'Loughlin, about the fact that he invites many people to be on his TV shows and people are apprehensive. And I do the same thing. And people say, oh, I'm afraid I can't go on television. I can't put myself out there. So what is the value of visibility?
Visibility is key for exposure. I mean, is visibility going to sell the product, i.e., in my case, books? Possibly, possibly not. But the one thing that happens within exposure is people get to know you. People get to understand you. People get to understand who you are beyond your books. So it really doesn't matter what genre you're writing in. If you have that visibility and you have that exposure, it's a 2-pronged attack, but people have to get to know you beyond your actual writing. And that's what exposure and publicity do. And that's what my role is.
Mickey, yesterday we had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Catherine on our Head for Business show. And part of what we were talking about is that there's one thing for business owners to have a book, to publish a book, to give themselves additional credibility. But there's another aspect of authors as business owners. And what I found so many times in interviewing authors is they don't actually think about that aspect. They think, okay, I wrote a book and people are going to buy it. But in order to get it purchased, you need publicity. You need people to know about it. So what can you share with someone who's thinking of writing a book about the importance of considering the marketing and publicity aspect of it?
Every author who writes a book, and especially self-published indie authors, they need a plan in place before launching that book. They need to determine what their brand and their vision is, and then execute that plan, whether it be through a publicist like myself, a personal VA assistant, or their own entity. They need to develop that plan in place and make sure that they're comfortable with their branding and such, and be able to pivot with that. There's so many authors, you're right, Dr. Jacalyn, there's so many authors who don't understand this aspect of the business. They're really good at writing, they're really good at designing, they're really good at branding themselves. They're just not really good at reaching out after the fact because they haven't got a set plan in place. So having a set plan is the first key component, and then executing that plan is second, obviously.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. So if we look at writing a book, getting a book published, some people want to be a New York Times bestselling author. Some people want to be USA Today, Indie. And some people just want to do it for the credibility. Other people want the money. So when you're looking for clients, or when you're reviewing, because you get a lot of people coming before you, do you make a decision as to whether or not you accept them based on what their goal is? I want to be rich and famous, or I want to leave a legacy?
Every client that I'm contemplating working with, I have interviews with all of them before I make a decision. And I'm usually averaging 10 to 15 interviews because got referrals and all that stuff. My goal in that interview is to determine what they want to do, how they want to do it. If the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, I want to be a New York Times bestseller and I think I'm good enough to do that, I'm likely not going to sign that person, because there are a lot of steps that have to be made before you get to that plateau, especially if you're a self-published debut author. Now, if that same individual was not to say that to me and say, Mickey, I want to start small, I want to do some written things, I want to go on some smaller podcasts with some smaller reach and build my brand and my resume, and then hopefully within a year and a half, or maybe even 6 months, graduate to those higher levels, that's someone I want to work with because it's realistic. Jumping off the hop and becoming a New York Times bestseller or being on Good Morning America within a month to 2 months, it's unrealistic. And I can't match those expectations. And I wouldn't want to match those expectations. It's better to have building blocks. I know it's a long-winded answer, but I just wanted to make sure it was done in scope.
No, I think it's a very comprehensive answer, and I think it makes a lot of sense because you're setting expectations from the beginning. It would almost be like if someone said, I want to do a TV show and I want to have all kinds of awards. Well, you don't even have an audience as of yet. You've got to get out there and get the message. Exactly. So someone comes to you, they have the interview, and then you decide to bring them onto your team. What does that process look like for the onboarding for somebody who's out there right now thinking, you know what, I want to give Mickey a call? What does this engagement look like?
We have an hour-long conversation, or however long it takes, and then we make a conscious decision to work together or not. We set up our pricing because each contract is individually priced and different. And then I send the contract, they send me their bio, headshot, all of that. But it's really, and I do have a media checklist that I do send out for my clients that they do have to follow in terms of interactions with media and things like that. I am very careful, especially now, about who I'm signing, because everybody I sign or take on as a client has to match everybody else that I'm working with. And that's over 100 other people. We have group Zoom calls every quarter, and those Zoom calls are meant to interact with each other. So whoever I bring on has to be able to match and identify their brand to complement everybody else that I'm already working with. If there's one misstep, like a no-show or a schedule or a bad social media post, politically, religiously, or whatever, again, that comes back to our entire team. And it can dramatically affect what we do or don't do in the media space. So I'm very careful around that.
Well, for me, what I hear you saying is that you have created a team, a community that has shared energy, and you introduce some negative energy or someone who's not willing to put themselves out there or support the team, and it can bring the whole team down. And I love what you also just shared about social media. I feel the same way. I will see, actually, the other day, someone on our team put something very negative, filled with hatred. And so now I am going to be having a conversation because there's no place for that. And I don't think people realize that when you are a public figure and you're in the public domain, people are looking to you. And you can have your own personal feelings, but if you've got a book out there and you actually want to sell the book, why are you trying to divide the audience and eliminate people because you believe a certain thing?
Well, there's that. And then there's also the premise that people try to use social and public figures in their social media to try and build traction. Well, there's laws around that, and you're technically not supposed to do that. That's one aspect. And then there's the branding piece. Like, I do represent some Christian writers, and so their branding is around religion. And I sometimes get pushback from other people saying, well, what about this? What about this? I'm like, yes, but that's their brand. They're broadcasting what their brand is. There is nothing wrong with that. What would be worse is having someone who's not Christian trying to leverage something for the Christian market just because, and building that up. That is not okay. As long as an author focuses on what their brand is from a social media traction interview standpoint, there's nothing wrong with doing any of that. It gets convoluted when you try to complicate things, though. That's my opinion.
I agree with you. I think it's consistency and bringing a consistent message.
100%.
So I want to take a step back for a moment when we think about someone who is a brand new author versus Alan R. Warren, who was interviewed yesterday. What a dynamic person. I just love him.
He's an amazing man, right? He's so amazing.
And his website is off the charts. He's just incredible. So for someone who's brand new, how important is the book cover?
That's a huge part of it. I mean, not just someone who's brand new, any author, a New York Times best-selling author, they didn't get there because their book cover was handmade and it looked indie. They got there because it looks traditional, and they took some time and prevalence in getting that out there. The book cover is part of the branding piece. It's no difference than having a professional headshot or having a decent bio or again, not posting bad stuff on social media. It's all about the branding at the end of the day. And authors need to be comfortable with whatever their brand is and be able to speak to that. So I don't know if you're going to go here, Dr. Jacalyn, but I do want to mention this as well. Authors who try to second guess the markets and try to write for a certain fan base or try to single out or guesswork as to what's the next big thing, again, I believe they're making a huge mistake. They should just be comfortable with their brand, because readers will come to whatever their brand is. If you fake it, it's going to come out in your media interviews at some point. It just will. It's inevitable.
It's true. I agree. I've actually published 26 books so far. The first few that I wrote, I really wish I didn't write because I can look back over my writing skills. And
we won't tell anyone. Just put them in the bag. It's okay. Exactly.
But it has to be a reflection of who you are. And I've had this conversation with people. They'll say, well, I'm going to put the book covers out to social media and have people vote on it. And I'll say, but at the end of the day, it's an extension of you. And you have to be in alignment with it and say, you know what, I'm proud to represent this, even though we evolve, hopefully, as time goes on. So my next question for you is, I just attended a conference, and one of the questions I got from someone was, I just wrote my own book and I used AI to do the whole thing. And I said, well, basically, you didn't write the book then. AI wrote the book and you want to put your name onto it. But AI is a tool. So where is that fine line? How do you feel as someone who's representing others if they're using AI to write a lot of the book?
We've had a policy in place that I'm going to tread carefully with this because it is a loaded question. It's okay to use AI for research purposes, provided you actually outsource the research given, because they'll always give sources within that. If an author is using AI for research purposes, but crafts the book, especially nonfiction, in their own words, I think that's satisfactory, especially if they do the research after the fact. What I have a problem with is an author completely writing the book in AI and then posting the work as their own and citing no research, citing no source work, citing none of that, because that's where things get lost in translation. We had one author who was using AI to write all their articles for guest posts in magazines. I said, that stops right now, because it's such a negative view. And a lot of the media coverages don't want AI related content. It's not copyrightable. It's highly piratable. In a lot of cases, the data is wrong because the authors or the editorials for those haven't bothered to check the source work. So there's a lot of things that can go missing with that.
It's very true. And I use AI quite frequently for research purposes, or because I live alone, I talk to it like it's a therapist. And sometimes I will actually give it information for it to check. I already know the answer. And it comes back and I'll say, you did no research. By the way, I didn't even see you going thinking. You just immediately came back with something and it's actually incorrect. And then I'll come back and say, you know what, you're right. So if people are using this to base lifetime decisions or put something with their name, that you really have to think about it. So one of the questions I have, Mickey, is in reference to creative edge. What type of visibility can an author expect to get? Where is it that they might be seen? It's on TV, it's podcasts. Tell us more.
It's a combination of all those things. Do we work with podcasts with smaller reach? Yes. Do we work with podcasts and other outlets that have substantial reach? We do. We get interviews through podcasts, radio, TV, guest posts on magazines, interviews in magazine coverages, cover stories, book reviews, all that internationally. My calendar for my entire, my every month works out to about 300 on average, 300 to 352 spots, engagements every single month for my entire team. So I'm actually invoicing out about 300 on average bookings every month. And it's not just in one sector, it's internationally. UK, Australia, United States, Canada. We just had a national article in Canada throughout the entire country with multiple newspapers for one of our clients. So these are the kind of things that we're doing. Now, do we guarantee spots every month? We don't, but I do get spots every month. I have a number of arrangements, such as I have with USA Global TV, where we have set arrangements in place and we can get coverages within that. So it's really, really good. And to that point as well, we have such a wide variety of client base that when we send out opportunities for a brand new podcast, it's very alluring for them to see the number of names on that list. So it's not extremely difficult to get set arrangements in place for a year at a time.
Congratulations. That is really impressive. So for your clients, your authors, how many engagements should they be prepared to do in the course of a month or a year?
It depends on who it is in the book. Some clients might only get 2 or 3 outings in 1 month. I've had clients who've had 20 to 25 to 30 things in 1 month. So it really depends on the trajectory of what they want to do and the book at the time. It's not just about new releases where we stop after 6 months. We're actively promoting our backlist just as effectively as we are with our new releases because of the relationship we build, much like our relationship with you. You reach out to me, I send an email to my 100+ team. Next thing you know, there's a spot. It's just how this works.
It's exceptional. We've been working together, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
5 years,
Dr. Jacalyn.
And I give you 10 stars. This is the most number of stars you possibly could get.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. Your organization is so well run and you are so professional and easy to work with. So for people who are out there who haven't written a book, I mean, I just talked about this yesterday. It's with one of my colleagues. When is your book coming out? Why don't you have a book? But which way should they go? Should they self-publish on Amazon? Should they try to get an official publisher? I don't even know how that works because I'm completely self-published. What are your thoughts on that?
It depends on what they want to do. I mean, if they want to be published through the big 5 publishers, they need an agent to pitch them. Penguin Random House is not going to listen to the indie author trying to pitch their own book. That's just not going to happen. They need an agent to pitch that. Now, there are small presses you can publish with where you don't need an agent. You can simply query and get that through. In fact, I've set up a couple myself that way. But the illusion or the benefit of self-publishing is you get full control. You're in control of everything: the story, the look, the brand, where you want to go, what you want to do, and you get all the money from that. You don't share those royalties. I used to think that traditional publishing always was the way to go. I'm leaning more towards a benefit of both, but we have a lot of indies who have full control over their stuff. And in fact, this last week and a half alone, we had indies who hit #1 on Amazon, and they have full control of their stuff. So there's benefits to both sides. Going traditional will take you a lot longer because you're querying, you're trying to get accepted, all of that. And then from a marketability standpoint, most publishers will only market your book 3 to 6 months, and then they're going on to their next projects. Whereas we're marketing stuff year and a half, 2 years, or at least until the media say no. So that's the difference.
Thank you for explaining that. One question that comes up quite frequently, there are different platforms that will take your book and translate it into other languages. And what I've asked authors is, well, how are you doing in English? How are you doing in sales? Because before you start putting it into other languages, are you mastering your craft in the language that you speak? So that's just what my thought is, but you might have a completely different take. Will you encourage your clients to publish in multiple languages?
Eventually, I think you have to have a name first. I mean, I represent a major science fiction fantasy author who's published through one of the big 5. He has multiple books in different languages, but he's also built that reputation up. We have a New York Times bestseller as well, same thing, but they've established themselves. If you're a debut author as an indie and you haven't established yourself first in the English North American market, how are you going to establish yourself in Spain? It doesn't make any sense. Building blocks, build one step at a time. Don't go past that. And be confident in yourself as you go through that. That's my advice.
And we've interviewed the author whom you're referring to in multiple languages. Very impressive, by the way. He's top notch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, he's a great guest. And when you see the website with all the books in all the different languages, it just, I know his name, I'm not saying it, but it just stands out. So does a person lead with the book, or do they lead with their message and the book is the tool?
In my opinion, and some people think it's controversial, but we've had high success with our clients, and this is how I market all of my people, genre or not. We lead with the individual. The book, the music, the art, everything is a byproduct of what they do. So when we're pitching media outlets for our clients, I'm focusing on the branding of the individual and less on the book and less on the product, because the byproduct is of what they are. You have an author who's written a romance book, great. Next book they write might be science fiction, it might be horror, it might be nonfiction, or it might be completely different. I represent a Grammy Award nominee who's written books. Those are 2 different products in place, music and books. So what we've done is we're actually pitching and building up the branding of that individual. And that's how we're having success. So, yeah.
And she's done quite well for herself,
She
also
has.
from working
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
all
I
about
agree
the
with
value
you.
of the individual. Yeah.
It's looking at the person first.
Absolutely.
And then what is the messaging and how are you going to convey it, whether it's through music, through books, or through art?
Exactly.
How important is a book signing? And when do you incorporate a book signing into the whole process?
I think the launch of the book is important. I think it's important to get signings at the actual launch itself, because you can identify or try to get media coverage around that, and it's a way for you to build up your reader base and your fan base. I think getting library signings once the book is out, again, is another way to maybe get some funds back, because libraries might pay you to go to an event, and then you're now addressing book clubs, other readers, things like that. Some authors struggle with book signings because they don't know how to interact with public because they're introverts. But if you can do a solid base in getting a book tour done, and you can go to these things and identify a readership and start identifying yourself with your fans, that's going to speak volumes, because those readers are going to remember how nice, how kind, how cordial you are with them, and they're going to tell their friends to buy your book. It's a trickle-down effect. So, yeah, it's vital.
And are book signings something that Creative Edge actually sets up, or does the author have to go to the bookstore and say, hey, I'd like to do a book signing here?
Our golden rule around this is we'll definitely set up signings. We'll definitely set up tours. In fact, the author who's mainstream in the fantasy we were talking about earlier, we did a full tour for that individual last September. My stance is this: if the author has a personal connection to the bookstore, the media outlet, signing, whatever, they should leverage those personal connections and then CC their publicist, i.e. being me. If they don't have that, it looks more legitimate for their publicist to go and pitch them for these spots. And I always use this example, and my clients hate it when I do this, but I'm going to do it again. And I always ask the question when they book the store or they haven't had success because they've done it themselves and not let me know about it, I say to them, would Beyonce or Tom Hanks book his own things? Well, the answer is no. Beyonce would never book her own spots. She has people to do that for her. So this is the same thing as that. And then my clients will say, well, I'm not Beyonce. I'm like, no, but that doesn't mean you can't get traction like that, depending how far along we go. So that's my take on that.
I agree with you. And I think one of the topics I also want to look at, because I hear this on a regular basis, and you might hear this as well, but in order to engage, in order to have visibility, you're working with someone like you or someone like me, and there's costs associated with it. There's a cost of doing business, and people will not see that cost of doing business. Well, why should I pay you? Well, why should I hire you? Well, if you want to have traction, if you want to get out to an audience that doesn't know you, who's never heard of you, then you've got to figure out what is your best way to market to do that. And so having a publicist like yourself really separates the person from everybody out there, because every day books are being released. If you don't have representation, you're just getting lost in the shuffle over on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. For a book launch, what I'm doing, I'm sending out between 350 or 400 separate emails to media for that book launch. We're arranging signings. We're drafting a press release. We're doing emails. We're doing follow-ups. We're doing all of that. The author can do this themselves. They don't need me to actually do it. They can find the contacts. They can get them. They can try and draft a release, and they can try and do the follow-ups, and they can do all this. The problem is, if they're doing all of that, they're not writing. They're not focusing on other things that they could be doing. So having someone like myself in your corner, it takes that onus away from you. Now, is there work with this? Absolutely. If I book someone on a show, number one, they better show up. If I book them for a writing article, they better send that article to me within the deadline. There is definitely work involved in working with a publicist, but it's going to be less work and traction and stress if you hire someone like myself rather than try to do everything, plus continue to write other books or do other things.
Yes, I think that's a very valid point. And something else I'd like to ask about, and this is not a plug for me or for media, but someone can go ahead on Facebook and they can do their own podcast. Okay, we have a
Sure.
television show right now, which is not a podcast. They can sit there in their home and they can say whatever it is they want about their book. Someone can go and do their own marketing, their own publicity. But when you work with someone like you, it's taking it to another level. It's not just Aunt Susie and Uncle Bob and the people who are on your Facebook page. It's a whole other world. And with search engine optimization and the algorithms, the number of people that it can reach gets extended by this percentage, that percentage, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, and that's the thing, and I don't know if this is going to answer the question, but I do want to go on a bit of a rant around this, because I always have authors asking me, well, what's the reach of the show and why should I do it? I'm like, why does that matter? If you have a strong social media presence and you're able to share the links for your show out and you put on a really good interview, and the show was looking professional enough to put on a good interview for you, why does reach matter? It is not the show's job to actively promote you after that interview's done. They've done their job. They brought you on and let you talk for 5 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, whatever. They give you that time to format your skills and your branding base. What you do with that after the fact, that's on you. So if you don't get views or you don't get traction because you haven't shared the link out or you don't have a strong social media presence, that's not the show's fault. That's again on you. That's my opinion. Does that answer that or not really?
No, it answers it perfectly. And this is unscripted. And you and I have never had this conversation about this, but that's exactly what I would say, almost to the T, is that there's always work that's involved. But the first step is reaching out to you and reaching out to your team. How do people do that?
It's a combination of different things. So I insist that all of my authors list me as their publicist on their website so that I get stuff back that I can properly leverage, not just for those individuals, but for the entire team. So that's part of it. We do a lot of sharing around media inside. So if an author brings me an outlet that's reach out, they will CC me or they will let me handle the booking. And then I can handle the booking for everybody else if there's interest there. So that's part of it. And then there's also referrals around that. And then I'm subscribing to a number of places. And again, we have such a wide variety of individuals that we represent, highly skilled in a lot of different areas. When I send out that client list to some podcasts or some radio shows or whatever, they're like, wow, this is amazing. How many people can we book? And this is the reasons why. So it's a very powerful statement. Is it worth getting these opportunities and networking? Absolutely. It's a ton of work, but the benefits are huge. I mean, like in our case, Dr. Jacalyn, we worked together for 5 years. When I first approached you around this 5 years ago, did you think we'd still be working together 5 years later? Honestly.
It's amazing. It is, but you know what? You have always been so professional and so good at what you're doing that it's an absolute gift that you have sent us so many
both ways.
Thank you. Thank you. So for people out there who are interested in contacting you, who would be a good client? What are you looking for? And are you taking on new clients?
I'm always taking on new clients. Again, I want to work with clients who have a vision of what they want to do. They're not second guessing their branding. They're not trying to guess what people want. They just want to do their branding and they're comfortable and they're confident with what they want to do. If I can meet with individuals like that, that's something we can work with. I don't want to work with people who have false expectations around who they are, what they believe they deserve, or anything like that. I want people with a set plan that we can leverage and understand that it's a long-term commitment. I have clients I've worked with for 11, 12, 13 years. I have clients I've worked with for 6, 7, 8 years. It's a commitment. And if you don't see traction right away, if you're in for the long haul, that's who I want to talk to.
And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? A website, social media, email, phone number?
My website, www.creativeedge-services, My email is, and yes, I'll put it out here, mickey.creativeedge@gmail.com. Those are the best ways.
Okay, fantastic. We got together very quickly before the show began, but if you could put them in the private chat, we'll share them in the comments.
Sounds good. I can do that.
Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I wish you continued success. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you do for me and for USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you again, and I adore you, and thanks for the opportunity. It was lovely, as always.
Thank you very much. Bye for now. Well, please do reach out to Mickey. As I mentioned, I've been working with him for 5 years. You can find a lot of his clients on our shows, The Corner Bookstore, The Wise One, Authentic Achievements. I could go on and on and on. I could literally list off right now a ton of his clients who have been here. Everyone makes an impression, and that impression could be yours, but you have to take action. So if you're sitting there contemplating, should I contact Mickey? You're probably not the right person. But if you're someone who has a plan and you want visibility, please go ahead and contact him. We will have his contact details in the comments. He's going to be dropping them in the private chat there, and reach out and see where it goes. But you've got to be passionate and you've got to be committed. It is a long journey. You're not going to be a flash in the pan. You write a book and the whole world's been waiting for you. Do some research on how many books are actually launched every day. You've got to distinguish yourself and have your own branding. And the way to do that is with Mickey Mikkelson and Creative Edge. Thank you so much for being here today. If you are watching on YouTube, I know a number of you watch from different platforms. Please consider subscribing to both of our channels. We've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award on USA Global TV and Radio for over 100,000 subscribers. And we started Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck about 2 years ago, and we're just about 40,000. So we're working on that for that channel as well. But we have real visibility. We also have distributors who take our content out. And of course, we're on social media. So I'm going to close out by saying this. Each and every one of you has value. Each and every one of you has everything you need right now to take yourself to the next level personally and professionally. But the question is, are you continuing to give away your value? Are you dropping your prices? Are you consistently discounting in your personal life? Are you saying yes, 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 when the answer really is, I don't want to do this? Well, I'd like you to consider to stop giving away your value. This is my newest book, a selfish plug. Here it is, Boundaries, Pricing, and the Business of Respect. Take a look at this video clip, and if it reaches and means something to you, please consider purchasing my book anywhere where fine books are sold. Again, it's called Stop Giving Away Your Value. We'll be back with our next show.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, Pricing, and the Business of Respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Vargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you, or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.